Alrighty. To cover myself up. Holy Moses. Because I thought I was done, and then I went for a swim, and I was laying out in the sun. This lighting is terrible. And I was contemplating, I was like, because my body's doing the weirdest shit because I'm trying to find fucking somewhere in the middle of lots of different things. And then I thought of this, and then I was like, oh, I don't need to do that. And then I was like, oh, no, Shannon, you don't do that. You remember you made that promise that every time you say that's too hard, you're going to do it until this is done. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I have to get back up and sit down and do another fucking video. And I have to stop laying in the beautiful sun and swimming in the beautiful fucking swimming pool for a moment. To speak about this virtue or victim. And I've spoken about it a little bit before, but basically for the majority of our human history, of our civilized history, we have virtuous warrior, hero archetypes. Until the introduction of hyper-mechanized industrial scale warfare, which is World War I and World War II, which also needed hyper industrialized medical industrial fucking solutions to the masses of casualties that the industrial scale mechanized war was creating. And so there's a few things going on. The virtuous warrior types a lot of them were killed. It took what I believe was a far more ceremonial, symbolic age of warfare, told through horrific stories, and it turned it into literal industrial fucking scale murder, not warfare. And so I believe there was a kind of societal response, and the idea of celebrating the warrior, victorious, virtuous heroes was replaced by symbolically and very literally elevating victims to that position without much foresight, I'm guessing, because the warrior virtue, archetype didn't just take place on the battlefield. We'd already had hundreds of years of symbolically displayed diplomatic conflict, which is our political system, our parliamentary system, which in Australia right now, actually all across the world, it's devolved into this disgusting, strange, mutant that isn't recognizable. When I look at history, I'm like, this is weird. And so basically all I'm doing is a continuation of what I have educated myself to be the true understanding of what that was. It is a symbolic, diplomatic display of controlled, symbolic violence. It's not actual violence. And I'm battling an entire mythology that has sprung forth since World War II of victim praise, like worship, victim worship. And if we think about this, like you can invoke a warrior hero archetype in children, and they will usually, there are some bad eggs, but they're not really, that's traditionally what they'd be called, bad eggs, that will manifest literal violence on their peers. But most children intuitively understand how to convert historic and dramatic visual dramatizations, like interpretations of heroic warrior class violence, even girls. It doesn't matter. But when we have we've done a pretty good job at displaying women in this heroic role, especially the last decade or so. There's never been more films made about that in history. There's never been more things written about women and produced for women. But even the women are coming, we're being forced to battle what was a probably well-meaning adaptation by our civilization to adapt to this worship of the victim, right? Because the warriors weren't there. Two, the warriors of the enemies had committed these atrocities, almost like not to give them an out, but if you take someone like Goebbels and even Hitler and all the players in World War II, Stalin, even Mao, it's like they were dealing with tools that had not been that they hadn't had time to appreciate the damage, and they were the only thing they had to guide them was stories, and then they were instantly thrown into combat each other with what we had, which was patriarchal military hierarchies. And so there is no way that wouldn't have happened. There was no way to stop that quickly enough at that time. The communication levels were bad. The transmission lines, like everything was far slower, far less quality, everything like that. So it's obvious to me that we've spent the last 100 years developing strategies to circumvent a re-elevation to horrific, mechanized, industrialized, ultimate scale global warfare. The problem is that we are the placeholder, the thing that we put in place was the victim worship. To worship victims, you have to create victims. And this is what I believe has happened. It's like their entire strategy of replacing one with the other has led to almost creating a deity. If you think of like a warrior, think of warrior gods like Thor or something like that. You have literally created a victim god or a victim deity, and you are sacrificing healthy, whole individuals, a lot of them children, to your fucking created deity to appease your believed, peaceful utopian strategy of replacing a warrior with a victim. Something that it's like if you could communicate with any other person from any other period of time and say that you'd done that, they'd just, what are you talking about? What do you think will happen if you replace the warrior archetype with the victim and create victim warriors? That it's like it's prolonged suicidal failure. That's what you'll get. If you celebrate the victim, you can't ever win. The victim can't win. Do you know what I mean? And within the system you've built, it's like if the victim wins, they're just then classified as not a victim, and so they lose. It's just a meat grinder. You took the industrial, we didn't have enough time to fucking adapt industrial mechanized warfare system. You converted it to an industrial mechanized victim production facility. And it is more of a meat grinder than the industrial war is. And the industrial war, the industrial warrior, global patriarchal military solution is to do this, is to tell a really long story about, a victim of a thing being heroic, and then just keep challenging you to finally checkmate that ridiculous fucking paradigm. It's not. We've been telling heroic stories of knights and warriors and kings and barbarians and Roman. What are they called? Gladiators and Spartans. All this thing, and we haven't had an issue with that not being understood. In fact, it's kind of the introductory thing that you learn if you're going to do any type of military. It's like the part of it is you have to know how to turn that on and off and deal with, like, you have to prepare yourself to be potentially violent and kill and then exist. And we have hundreds of years of that. I don't know how you would even begin to start building a system of enforced victimization and like a warrior archetype through victimhood. It's like there's been similar, like there's people that have been victimized to be turned into warriors, but they turn into warriors. That is their prize, and then they transmute all of that pain and suffering into something productive for the whole. A victim is not productive for the whole. It is simply just a drain on the whole system, and you don't have anywhere to go to with it. It's why it's constantly just landing in a pit of its own making. All of these ideologies. I've done it this morning. We don't need a pride flag because we already had a pride flag that covered more than just who you want to fuck on this day of the week. We don't need individual victim welfare fucking systems, because the whole system used to, like, smaller systems used to cover that. And then there was kind of judgmental systems to make sure that people did it. And it's like you've built yourself fortresses in these atheistic pagan movements by saying, oh, the church is this, they're bad, so you don't listen to the moral authority that would generally be pulling you in. And then you're attempting to raise your victim flag from the seats of authority. So you're authoritarian victims with not enough supply of victims. In a positive world, there won't be victims, and so you need to continuously create them at an industrial scale to finance your victim, products, pharmaceutical products, welfare products, medical products, clubs and organizations to bolster victim. It's like this is all a dead end street. And I believe that, like what I've said now, it's like that. That's a fair example. It's kind of well-meaning. I've said it before. It's like the parents of the world saw the aftermath of these horrific wars and said, "Well, I'd rather my son be a doctor than a fucking warrior." That had never happened before. Doctors were kind of respected, surgeons and things, and medical professionals. They were respected, but they didn't fall into this medical thing. And there were like doctors and surgeons and medical professionals that were warriors, and so they utilized that warrior archetype, that hero archetype within their medicine, and that's kind of that. But then that wasn't enough to fuel this transition into a medical paradigm as opposed to a war paradigm. You have created a false mythology about medical professionals, and you've attempted to implant them where warriors used to be. And it's like a warrior sits there, and this is that, like, if you think of the archetype, I think it's Sun Tzu. It's like a warrior, or whoever it is. I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. It's like the warrior in a garden isn't a warrior all the time. Well, he is, but he's not. He's a warrior in a garden. Gardening. He's put his sword, above the mantelpiece, and now he's gardening. He's doing something else. Whereas when you replace it with this medical or like legal or social justice paradigm, there's never that moment, because like a warrior is called to action on threat. Usually, that's usually the way that we've told these stories to appropriately align them with a threat in this is a whole thing of a just war and all that. It's like this is a lot of historical literature about this point. Whereas if it's a social justice war to elevate the status of victims, you will inevitably end up creating victims. You know, our traditional, from my cultural background, which is who settled that land in Tasmania, who settled this land in Australia, it's like that was our archetype. It was like you were a warrior, you were trained to be a warrior, you were prepared to be a warrior, and then you were taught how and what to do when your sword was put away on the mantelpiece. You don't repeatedly just, you know, turn every direction fighting a war to celebrate the casualty of a war. You know, and I believe that we, as a global warrior culture of all ethnic backgrounds, all religions, all you know, continents and countries of the world, I think we've really elevated the level that you know, that has manifest of these solutions. And now we are left internally with these side effects, these maladapted strategies. But there is never communication, because the communication just has to turn to them self-victimizing again. We're not trying to destroy you. We're not trying to fucking whatever. You are doing it to yourselves. We've sorted these conversations out. The levels of homophobia, of transphobia, of racism, all these things have never been lower across our entire state. And you are now doing, officially, on this date, you are now officially doing far more harm, far more damage to every single individual and, you know, minority and dispossessed, you know, victim, whatever, that you claim to support. You are doing more damage to them by falsely uniting them and bringing them under a banner of victimhood. And we just won't have it anymore. We're like, no, we're here to fucking take all the victims of your fucking maladaptive strategies and re-expose them to the appropriate story of how a victim's full arc, full hero story is to grow out of their victimhood. You know, is to take the challenges and the pain and the suffering, the anguish, the discriminate, all these things, and transmute it into something noble and something successful. You know, it's a pathway. It's like, follow me, look where I am, not fucking, I'm going to defend these poor, helpless people. No one wants to be poor and helpless. No one. It's the wrong thing. It's so confused with its own self. And the fact that you do feel the need to, on these challenges, to raise your flag and like basically reinforce the fact that you have commandeered and hijacked our historic buildings and spaces, but you just have nothing there to carry on forward. It's a matter of there were historic things that were kept in the between the lines. They weren't screamed from the rooftops, and this is okay. This is okay. It's like, imagine if you take a child who's might be trans or might be homosexual, whatever these things. It's like there's a really high chance you grabbing that child, bringing him to the front of the class, and yelling out how fucking gay and fucking weird and whatever, and how to celebrate. That's more horrific. It's more traumatizing. And this is what, like, we know as the kind of conservative middle, we know that we're going to inevitably be forced to deal with the casualties of your fucking psychological war, of your reckless, fucking ridiculous ideology. You know, we're going to do that, but it's the same. It's like everyone's welcome. Everyone's part of this. We're really sorry that, you know, that you've had this, but you know, it's almost not a question of discrimination. It's like and to win this, you are isolating them within your cult walls. It's like, they hate you, they're going to do this, look at how they're attacking you, look at this. It's like, no, we're not. We're trying to break the wall, that the castle wall that these fucking ridiculous people have built around you, and re-expose you to the fact that we've never hated anyone. We've had kind of adapted, long-lasting strategies of like, just gentle, let's like, you might want to go down there, or that. Oh, there might be a place here for you, or this. Have you heard of this? You should go there. No, not fucking. Johnny's a poofter, la 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 la. Tracy's a fucking boy. Cut her tits off. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. It's the meddling female fucking archetype that has come in. It's like, and it's a problem. It's like, it's well-meaning, so it's very, very, very hard to combat. And it's like, I don't want to combat it as we have in the past that my mother experienced, where they're created and stuck in a fucking pharmaceutical or a mental health diagnosis of being these really destructive elements. But we need a better strategy to just pass gentle messages on. It's like, stop doing this. Get your flag down from those buildings, fold it up, stick it in your carry-on luggage, and fly back to Queensland and go and speak to your family that has created this mess. Go and sort out the problems in your family, in your extended Australian story history, right? Go and sort those problems out before you come and wave a fucking bullshit fucking flag created by fucking financial Wall Street fucking con artists above the flag, above the fucking buildings you had nothing to do with building. And the fact that this can be maintained and held in a tiny little island, in a tiny little capital city in Australia, you know what I mean? No one ever thought about it. It's like Tasmania. Whoever thinks about Tasmania? And even worse, whoever thinks about Hobart? But if we can sort this out in Hobart, courteously or with courtesy, it's like, you're in the wrong place, okay? Respectfully, we appreciate everything you've done. You're not all wrong. You're not an evil person. You've done this. But this thing, this battle, this war that you are fighting, you need to go and show us the fruits of your labor within your, extended closed family unit. Until we have a united Queensland, Reynolds, whatever other, surnames are in your past, rainbow flag fucking brigade that walks down or perhaps sails down in the Sydney to Hobart, down to Hobart and recess, and then, hands over a paper that says this is what we've done, and then we can respond to it. This is not going any further, okay? It's time to take those flags down, put them back in your bag, in your little bag from wherever, and politely and respectfully get out of Tasmania. You are committing cultural genocide. You are committing colonization. You are committing every single thing in a new fashion with new state-of-the-art industrial fucking medicines, pharmaceuticals, brainwashing techniques, propaganda techniques, and you are doing it on a small little island, and it has resulted in an attempted fucking genocide of fucking traditional owners. That's right, traditional owners of Tasmania. You are not going to dance around and fucking worship a zombie fucking, race of people that were eradicated and align them with your fucking hideous Wall Street cult. That is the darkest, most disgusting fucking chapter in Australian history. I can fucking guarantee you. And if you do not politely leave, we will thrust that to the world's fucking attention, just like you attempted to thrust our mistakes of the past into the world's attention. But you're still there. You're not a statue yet. You're there. You're living and breathing, doing exactly what the person that fucking statue represented did in real time. As we speak, this morning, you are committing the same exact thing under a foreign created corporate commercial fucking propaganda flag that even a lot of the community of so-called lesbian, gay, trans, bisexual, queer people do not now feel represents them because it is a cult. So for the third time in this video, Anna Reynolds, the Lord Mayor of Hobart, we respectfully dismiss you from your position and instruct you to leave Tasmania forever. To the Governor General, Miss Baker, or Mrs. Baker, We thank you for your service. We'd very much like you to see out your 5-year term up until, I think it was June. And then we would very much like you to please remove any political influence, anything like that else that you have over that state. It's up to you whether you stay or not. You have not really done much that I've seen is bad, but this is what we're going to do. We will tell our own history. We do not need squawky fucking New Queensland fucking budgerigars and fucking cockatoos and parrots flying down, probably scared by the fucking, assault rifle firings of Bob Katter, down to the fucking beautiful, peaceful colony of fucking Tasmania. We do not need it. We will take like our fucking, unique and very, cutting edge recapture or re-civilize or resettling of Tasmania. Will it help you if you want? If you want to fight Pauline Hanson and Bob Katter, we will help you. If you want to fight Albanese, we'll help. I don't even know. I don't know where you sit, but it should no longer be in Tasmania. The speed and rampancy of the way these ideologies are going, and it's just not, everything sits just under the surface of cognitive dissonance. It's just like because there aren't uniforms, although there's surgeon uniforms, there's doctors uniforms, there's political party uniforms, and there's the trans flags, all these things. Like, it's all just perfectly been beautifully cooked up in the minds of some of the fucking most psychopathic fucking PR and marketing psychologically trained psychopaths. On the podium that Edward Bernays built, on the reckless psychoanalytic ideology that Sigmund Freud built, all aligned with a pharmaceutical fucking false communion bullshit lie. And if you want to go and fight the good fight, go to California, go to places in Europe, but do not go to Tasmania. Do not fucking sit there. It's like we have it sorted. We really do. And it's been a one-sided telling of a story that is just like, well, what would you like to know? And I will explain it to you exactly how in Victorian times or in Georgian times or any of these things, how we, Elizabethan times, how we dealt with the issues that you're speaking about. I'll address it. The good, the bad, the fucking ugly, every single bit of it. But the one thing we did not have access to was a global interconnected censorship and propaganda super fucking highway. We didn't. We had to sail in the fucking ocean with the winds, the tides, the currents, the icebergs, the navigational things with no GPS, just compasses and sextants and chronometers. That was it. And you did not arrive in that fashion. You did not bring your ideology in this fashion. You did not distribute this around the world on equal terms. So you are falsely there. You are usurping our hard and fast geographical elements in that country, on that land in Tasmania. It's over and done with. Okay, I don't care really what happens. You want to go fight a war somewhere else. You want to go do whatever it is. Perhaps you could go and civilize and woke eyes Alice Springs right now. They need all the help they can get. So that's the place to do it. Tasmania is not the place to do it. All right, that ought to do it. I'm going to go for a swim again and lay in the sun for my brief moment.